What is up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, round 2 with interviews for Tech Death Tuesday at the Knitting Factory. And today we're here with Jared of Arkaik. Thank you so much for your time today, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here. Now that your latest record, Nemethia, came out in 2017, I believe, right? Do you kind of, can we be expecting some new music soon now that the record's going to be hitting the 3-year-old mark?
Yeah. We're recording in January.
Awesome.
That's the plan for now. And record should be out summer next year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you take a new approach to every single record that you make, or do you like to experiment with your sound as much as possible and try new things?
I like to try new things. And I think that most of our albums are kind of different, how they end up coming about. So
one thing I find unique as a vocalist, do you need to hear music in order to come up with lyrics, or do you sometimes have a concept in mind that could help determine the outcome of the music?
I have a concept in mind before the music comes together, fully. Our last 3 albums are concept albums, so I kind of come up with a general story arc, and then as the music, as it starts to get the songs come together and stuff, then I'll pick what each song is about, and then do that for the whole album.
Okay. Do you like to leave the concept open to interpretation, or do you like to try to maybe get the listener to sort of understand what you're trying to say in the record?
I'm trying to get them to understand. Yeah. It's because it's death metal, and because the lyrics are sort of poetic in nature. It's still open for interpretation, but there is a definitive storyline that we're doing.
Okay. Since it is a storyline, I'm really glad you bring that up. In order for somebody to fully understand it, would it be better if a listener kind of listen to your albums chronologically, is your albums kind of like Lord of the Rings, where you have to understand the first one to get the second one or something?
Kinda, yeah. It's a linear thing.
Okay, so if a listener were to maybe discover you guys on Nemethia as opposed to the record that preceded or something like that, they may not have a clear understanding of the concept or something like that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But when it comes to executing your material live, obviously you try to pick and choose songs off each album. Does that at all change the narrative at all, in a way?
Not for the live thing. We just try to pick, it depends on what tour we're on. Try to pick songs that we think would go over well for that tour package. Yeah, so.
Okay.
We're not as much trying to tell the whole story, because it's really long, and there's a lot to it. So there's no way you could present that in a 30-minute set or something. And we just try to pick songs that are that the crowd would be into.
Mm-hmm. Is there a specific reason why with the concept that you sing about, you mentioned you're death metal, and is there a reason why? Because when you look at all these different types of bands who come up with stories, there's many different directions it could go. Is there a specific reason why the style of music that you play supports the concept that you make?
I don't know. I guess, but it's not we're playing death metal or extreme music, and the concept albums, the storylines and stuff, they're not really death metal. They're more like Black Mirror, dystopian future kind of thing. It's all set on a parallel Earth type planet, and it's all being controlled. Everybody's being basically enslaved without them knowing it. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of dark in that way, but it's not super graphic or anything like that, like some extreme music is.
In order to get into songwriting mode, do you have to put yourself in a certain element in order for the inspiration to come, or does inspiration just come out of nowhere sometimes?
Kind of both. If it comes out of nowhere, I try to write it down somewhere or keep my ideas organized, because it can you can get inspired from anything. But when we're writing, wait, what was the question?
If do you have to put yourself in a certain element in order to get into songwriting mode?
Kinda. I feel it's helpful to I have a studio little place where I work on music, and I try to set aside time to have a writing session or work on music. Mm-hmm. So I kind of force myself to get in there and get inspired, but it's not for me. It's not as hard to just like find inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of like if I'm working on music, it just kind of happens most of the time.
Of course. And one other question I was curious about is when it comes to executing your material live, is it a completely different mind frame or is it a different type of energy than when you are in the studio or practicing your material, or is there maybe like a similar element that you're in?
I think it's similar because we're like technical death metal, so we're trying to execute it like
Note for note.
note for note and the best, like almost as if it were like a studio performance. So in a way, it's kind of like the studio, but live there's also a lot more headbanging and like like the stage energy. So I feel like there's more energy live, and I guess like trying to capture that same vibe in the studio is kind of the goal most of the time.
Interesting. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah, is there just anything else you would like to promote for Archaic in terms of tours? You said there's some new music coming out fairly soon. But
Yeah,
could we be expecting to see you on the road anytime soon?
we're supposed to we're going to Europe next year for our first time.
Awesome.
So that's a thing. The album should be out like summertime next year, so we'll be doing some more tours, but nothing no Northern American stuff set in stone yet.
Okay.
But definitely new music. We've got like a lot of the album already written, so we're just gonna record that and try to get it out as soon as we can.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today,
Thank you.
Jared. Yep. Everybody,
Appreciate
we are here with Jared of Arkaik. Pick up Nemethia if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time. Tech Death Tuesday.